Welcome back to Game 4 of the Academy League Summer Playoffs, where 100 Thieves Academy is one win away from advancing to the next week's semifinal round. A few players we have to talk about before we jump into next game. One of them, that man in the mid lane, Linsanity, has been going crazy. 2 Rise picks and the Malzahar pick that he just looked like Houdini on escaping these ganks.
Yeah, I mean, even in the game that they lost, he was making a lot of mobile map plays. Did get picked off, but at the same time, he has been huge in their wins, especially that last game on the Malzahar, the counter pick coming in. We weren't sure exactly how it was going to work out. Early laning phase didn't look like it was in his advantage, but then he made sure that he had that point and click lockdown CC for all the mobile playmaking on the side of CLG and shut down the large majority of their game plan, also using the teleport to contribute to that as well.
Also, another 2 people to look at, I should say, is Levi, but his opponent on the other side of the jungle is Wiggly. 2 guys doing a lot for their teams, and Levi coming up with those W's right now for 100 Thieves.
And you can see the aggression that Wiggly is playing with, trying to shut down the Kindred with the Lee Sin, but so far hasn't really worked. A lot of the plays coming up just short of working out. He had a nice invade, and tried to have some really nice mechanical plays on a topside gank in Game 2, but that ended up with him getting killed. And then in that previous game, a nice contest on some Wolves, but lost track of the teleport and ends up getting flanked by the Malzahar. And so he's going to need to step up a little bit. I think his Lee Sin looks great. It's just that it's not working out on the day. And sometimes you need to make that understanding that, like, okay, I can normally play Lee Sin, and I'm playing it well, but it's not working in this series, so I'm going to have to try something else. The Graves, the other pick that he has played so far, was one of the games that they lost, but that felt a lot more like some bad decision makings as a team, so maybe he starts looking at that as a potential to go back to.
See 100 Thieves getting ready and prepped, heading back to their seats. I was always one to be like, I want to get back into game. Whenever we was like halftime, I was like, can we cut halftime like 10 minutes short, please? I just want to get back on the field. Always.
I want my orange slices.
Oh, my word. You would.
Depends what I was playing.
Okay.
Because soccer, yeah, I want football.
Yeah,
I want
either or.
I want the orange slices.
You're cultured.
Hockey, get me back out there. I hated waiting between periods, and I hated when they had to do this the Zamboni. I was like, I don't like. We're 5 years old. Like, we don't need to have perfectly clean ice. We're gonna trip and fall no matter what we do.
Well, 100 Thieves back out here. CLG was actually out pretty fast last time as well. Right after their loss, they were discussing what to do out much earlier, as teams have their allotted time to take. We see 100 Thieves coming back just to negotiate what's going on now. Sitting nicely in Champion Select. Look at these guys.
Yeah, but all ready to go. But CLG on the other side, absent. And we were talking a little bit in the previous game about how when those plays that you're going for that should work out get turned around, sometimes the mental state of the team deteriorates.
True.
And as they make their way back onto the stage now, you have to wonder what was the meeting like, and if they are still in the right frame of mind to try and make the 2-game comeback that they're going to need to take this series.
I'm always the fan of the 0-0 talk, right? You go in there, base game, no wins, play your heart out. Obviously, you always want to win, but it kind of just, you reset that pressure. You find a way to make sure that you're not playing with any of the intensity of the previous games of seeing a guy get away with 100 HP, which would make you play differently in certain situations. But yeah, I think it's very hard to refresh your brain like that in this situation too.
Yeah, and that's why we talk about veteran leadership on a team, not just in a locker room setting where hopefully the coaching staff can take a bigger role in that, but in game when there is no longer a coaching staff, they're making sure everyone's still mentally prepared. And with a team of, as they said, 5 rookies, not really having that guy with a little bit more experience, whereas the 100 Thieves side, Levi, while not the most communicative, at least has that lead by example aura around him.
Right. And even if that's, I'm taking my cue.
Yeah, and even beyond, like, Levi, you know, Rikara talking about how he was on GCU, a team that was always in the finals fighting for qualifications into the LCS back when there was the promotion relegation. He understands pressure. He's been there numerous times, whereas a lot of these guys on CLG haven't had a big high-stakes stage game before.
For sure. Got to keep vocal. Got to keep the comms up. Silence is chaos when you get into a situation where you need to hear a voice that feels confident. There's the Akali ban again, and Kindred is finally on that ban list. Swaying as well to take that continuously away from Rikara. We'll see if 100 Thieves Academy switches anything up with that Rakan being up for Phil.
Yeah. Surprising to see them stick on the red side, though, of all things.
That's a good point.
I think
Mundo.
They value the counter pick. The Mundo is a little bit surprising. I think they're saying, we're not scared of your Rakan, Phil. Didn't work out in game 1, didn't work out in game 2. That does mean the Varus is up, and that's the first pick.
That is interesting. Auto gets his Varus. Very big there. The Kindred being thrown in there, as well as the Mundo. Didn't leave spot for Mr. V on the list. So now Auto gets his hand at that, waiting for 100 Thieves. They've been taking Kindred here. What will they take?
Yeah, that was it. Braum and Kindred. This time, by leaving the Varus up, it baits the Rakan pick to fall through to them. And so maybe that was the plan with the Mundo ban. Let's get something we know we don't want to play, leave up a couple power picks, and we'll take whatever falls to us. And that's exactly what they do with the Xayah Rakan. This does mean, with the Kindred banned out, Levi will have to be on something else. And so CLG is going to grab the Trundle right away and the Tahm Kench.
Big pickups. I like the safety, obviously, for Varus. It's what you get. Graves is still there in a very high damage team to start things off with potential for 100 Thieves. CLG Academy, they have their own potential as well with this composition.
Yeah, a lot of power picks on both team sides right now. And Levi having a favorable jungle matchup for maybe the first time in the series so far. You could argue about the first game and you know, the fact that the Lee Sin has the higher barrier of execution, but at the very least now he has the tempo advantage. A lot of people take the Graves into the Trundle. You get to run around the map. You get the range advantage on him. You can push him in, keep him held down while you get basically to free farm.
So what do they do? Can they force Brandini onto a tank for Wiggly? You can have a little bit better. Brandini be able to choose a gangplank if they leave it up. We'll see.
Yeah,
Yasuo and Orianna banned out with Gragas.
Brandini has played that GP a couple of times before. There's also the Kennen still available, and thus far they've been leaving the counter pick for Linsanity more often than not. And with the Ornn ban out, that is some more tanks that they're trying to stop Brandini from blinding. But like you said, they do have the Trundle taken, so I'm sure they won't be too upset if he ends up on a Poppy or something, but there's not really any gap closers right now to make good use of that.
True. Oh, he'll still have somebody to subjugate. That Cho'Gath is still on the board, and he'll get even bigger. So that'll be great for Wiggly. Feels good, but you're also going up against the objective control of that Cho'Gath and Levi. Here on the side of CLG, 2 final picks in what is game point for 100 Thieves Academy. An 11-7 CLG, able to stay above 100 Thieves in the standings throughout the season.
Here we go.
Having trouble in the series. Possible rumble pick for Fallen Bandit on the top side. Bring out the red carpet and that equalizer, and it is going to be locked in.
Here we like to see this, a little bit more focus on counter picking, a strong lane matchup that can still contribute in team fights pretty well. We saw how effective it is yesterday against people with no mobility, and luckily for 100 Thieves here right now, both their backline members of Xayah and Rakan do have ways to get out of that, but they also have the setup by the Varus. It used to be a little bit more Varus mid and Rumble comboing together, but those two champions as a whole have always worked super well. You have the Varus lock people down, the Rumble ult layered on top of it, and he finally gets the Syndra pick to come through here. A lot more lane focus for CLG Academy in this game.
Galio Rakan dive, it will be locked in, so they have safety in that engage, and engage whenever they want. But you get the same thing out of Scat of the Week on CLG's side with an equalizer. So much long-range potential from both teams. And I feel like CLG, I mean, both teams got great teams, but CLG has a lot of those wheelhouse champions that they want.
Yeah, a lot of power picks for them, but they are fairly immobile. And so if the Rakan can find good engages with Galio coming out on top, there's not that much that protects them. You're basically hoping for a good Syndra stun to stop the flash W that we'll be looking for. And then you also have really strong backline with both Levi and Rakara able to pump out a lot of damage to the double marksman.
That's the newest S-tier Syndra play, right? You get Syndras like Pole Belter and whatnot. They can scatter a LeBlanc as they come in on distortion. Now you gotta scatter a Rakan. Next level scatter. You gotta know he's coming in. Flash W.
I think a little bit more difficult than the LeBlanc ones, because a lot of that was after the LeBlanc W change that made her a little bit slower.
True.
And also, there's no more silence. I mean, that was the thing back in the day. Syndra had the silence, but CLG gonna have to execute super well here to hope to claw back into the series down 1-2.
See the teams matched up on your screen. Rumble versus Cho'Gath. Trundle roaming versus that Graves. Galio Syndra mid. And your Varus and Tahm Kench bot versus the Xayah Rakan lovers duo. And Rakara getting that Xayah, his most played marksman of the season, with a lot of mages behind that. And this will only be play number 5, I believe, for him. So still loving it and happy to get that back in his hands.
Yeah, and I really like this team comp for 100 Thieves just in terms of their identity. Levi has a lot of power to just kind of run around, have the better jungle matchup, and get his own leads without needing too much help from the team. Linsanity has a champion with global map-making ability, playmaking abilities, which is when he seems to be at his best if he can roam around and influence other lanes. And, you know, their bot lane with the Zaya Rakan having a lot of individual power. Feels really good for them in CLG, like we said. Lots of pick-off tools, lots of engage, lots of damage, not too much mobility, and Tom Kench alone kind of there to protect their mobile backlines. But he's going to have to be really on point to be able to gobble up whoever's getting focused down by 100 Thieves.
Who is the best to eat at which time? Both Tuesday and Otto have champions that they feel very comfortable on, this being the 6th play for Otto and his most played marksman. So he's got to feel really good coming into a game that matters on that Varus. A little back and forth for Brandini. Probably might have seen the edge of that ward. I think he was out of range, so they won't know there's... Yeah, they did. They're pinging it. Make sure not to trail behind the red buff and give up too much information. Some poor rewards being laid down in the jungle.
Yeah, Ghost Poro given that adaptive force when it's on the other side of the map. A lot of people like to try and sneak in there and get it down. That little bit of extra one dominance that Rumble wants so badly. Often gets in melee matchups with his flame spitter damage.
So junglers should be opposite sides here as they start off. See how it affects lanes unless there's a change here by Levi. He has been taking a few different routes. This time it looks like they'll be true to their path.
A lot of those routes were around Scuttle Crab prioritization. Yeah, with the Kindred. This time the Graves still wants to try and find the enemy jungler early and hold him down, but less about fighting over a Scuttle Crab and keeping camps to yourself, and more about just maybe being able to bully straight up Wiggly out of the jungle.
This is never a fun lane. Linsanity can obviously push, but keep taking auto attacks. You have to be able to deal with it.
There's a lot of not fun lanes here for 100 Thieves in the early part of these games. The Syndra, like we said, the 20 damage buff on rank 1 Q is actually pretty substantial. It goes down to the same number, but that's just a big early game benefit. And then, like we said, Rumble into melee matchups is always not a fun time for the melees as they try and last hit and constantly take Rumble damage. Here's Levi pressuring early, but not quite sure.
Ooh, right on the ward.
Work out for him.
Auto turn immediately with Phil. They have to know he's going to quick draw over the wall here once they get close. Actually, fires one back for himself. Nicely done.
Nice stun.
Scat of the week. Pillar in front. Justice punch to safety as he gets himself out of the path of terrain there. But the flash is down for Linsanity mid.
Good awareness about not getting over a terrain with the Justice Punch. Shows that he knows that Trundle Pillar will stop that. Had to play that one pretty smart and flash out of the way first, because that's something I feel like a lot of players in the game, probably not too many pros, but players maybe.
Kind of just instant, I'm out of here, I need to get out. Don't think about the surroundings that changed right away. Wiggly being seen by a ward, but it looks like they will trade nicely on opposite sides of the map. As he heads down, even passes that Scryer's Bloom. Doesn't want to give away his positioning at this point if he hasn't already on a ward. No aggression onto Brandini as he's at that 75% farm mark. They'll just hang out here for a little bit, stall those minions out until it builds up nice and big.
Once again, Wiggly is the aggressor in the early game, trying to force something around the mid lane, also hovering around the top side. Nice double W there by stun.
A little brush control, never hurts.
Yeah, pretty clean, but Wiggly getting the flash out of Linsanity yet again early on, but it's never been a repeat gank for a kill, and Linsanity usually ends up fine despite not having his flash.
Chomp down onto Wolves. You can see they're pretty much on par with each other, even with heading into each other's jungles on that farm. 27 to 27, 28 to 17 in this top lane. You can see how much harassment the Fallen Bandit's giving to Brandini as he comes up. Actually see what Brandini's leveled here. He does have 2 in his Vorpal Spikes. See if he turns it on at the wave. He should just be using regular attacks here so he can get through. Easy peasy.
Yeah, and the big thing about this is, of course, we talk about common jungle paths, starting red and clearing down. That's exactly what happened there. And that means the Rumble is pretty confident to kind of just blindly push up because he knows the jungler should be clearing away from him. all of which was confirmed by the ward on Krugs. And so Fallen Bandit has had a free pass in lane to just blindly shove up relentlessly against Brandini. And you see he finally is forcing him out of lane now. It's 5 minutes into the game.
Does not feel good. Usually up against Cho'Gath, he just farms a few minions, sustains up off his passive, and you don't take too much. But Fallen Bandit also doing a great job at keeping that heat gauge up. He's getting a little bit more damage and hit out of all his abilities.
Yep. Now Levi got his shop off, got back on the map. Gonna try and make a visit up to the top side to relinquish some of this pressure, clear out a ward, make Fallen Bandit finally have to start playing a little bit more respectfully and buy some breathing room from Brandini, who did have to TP back. Fallen Bandit will have his own, but with him showing up there, CLG instantly reacts again.
This is that. You usually forget who that guy that made the assist was if somebody gets the dragon or scores a goal. This is Fallen Bandit's assist. All that pressure on the top side, the wards that Wiggly gave, dragon goes over to CLG quite easily due to all that pressure on the top side of the map.
And with how the jungle pathing broke out, there's nothing for Levi to counter jungle with up on the top side. He went in there hoping maybe there's some Gromps available, but he knows that that's where Wiggly cleared up to, and so he'll be respawning later, not actually able to find anything for himself.
Slow push here to they even up the wave in mid lane, so that resets. Might get it back from both mid laners here. It looks like Insanity will at least go back. And they see him doing so. So, oh, that's going to be a fast push by Tuesday in mid. Top side's going to get a little bit of love here as Fallen Bandit gets ruptured up. Equalizer just came up for him. Does he have time? He was overheated at the same time the fight went through, and also silenced. I think he might have just been silenced, but what a play coming in for 100 Thieves.
Yeah, super nice play by them. Does cost them the teleport on Insanity. Maybe a little over-eager on using that, but wanted to get there as Levi was going to show on the ward. The chomp by Brandini as well as landing all of his abilities to make sure that he's low enough.
Silenced.
Super easy kill. Luckily for Fallen Bandit, he walked back to lane previously, which he was going to try and use to generate a teleport advantage, probably on the bot side for a play. But with the fact that they're able to, you know, the kind of common strategy of attack the global, they force that cooldown out on the top side just for laning and negate what could have been a potential problem.
Ooh, wow! So much damage as Linsanity gets pinched into the wall, and there's the final shot coming through from an orb from Tuesday. Wiggly rinses, repeats in the mid lane to get that kill this time.
Yeah, finally punished the flashless mid laner. Only a couple seconds left, about 20 seconds before they got that one. And a nice pillar by Wiggly again on the mid lane. Forces Wiggly, or Linsanity, to walk a certain path, so it's an easy stun follow-up. Really nice play by them. And Syndra starting to come online. A lot of magic damage, though, so Galio is probably more than happy to start building some AP. We'll see if he goes with the Rod of the Ages first, which is the most common path, but sometimes people feel like, you know, it doesn't hurt to get the Abyssal Mass.
I've always wondered, someday I'll just ask a player, how much of that last 20 seconds, last 30 seconds of a flash is timed with the idea that your opponent is starting to play more aggressive, knowing his flash is coming up. You know, you're like, hey, he's stepping forward, but he doesn't have it yet. This is the time to catch him, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, everyone tracks flashes pretty closely, but
for sure,
it is a bit of a psychological thing where you just say, all right, well, it's up in 20 seconds, so I can start pushing this wave. And
yeah, maybe I'll get him on this one.
That just looked like a little bit of an unsafe position for Linsanity to be in after the top side play, maybe being a little bit too overeager as he continues to get bullied in the mid. Down to 25 CS already.
Well, 63 to 54 as CLG's lanes start to take hold. And this is what we kind of said. Can they all come together now? This is what CLG said 100 Thieves had. Such strength in lanes, but why can't they come together? Now CLG is showing that strength, and they already have a bit of that communication. See if they can push it to a game 5. Still early in this at 9 minutes. But 1,000 gold lead feels pretty good here.
Yeah, and we were talking about how CLG does have a lot stronger lanes, so a lot of these CS advantages and things are to be expected. But there is those kind of break points where, all right, 1,000 gold, 500 gold, 10 minutes in the game, not too bad. But if CLG makes a big play and explodes up to 2K gold, big problem.
The back the fourth, the silence, a bit of an overheat. Oh, that is a lot of lane aggression. Fallen Bandit has to back off for just a moment now with much more worry about Levi's positioning. They see him now on that board. A little ping. He can stay safe.
There you see.
Oh, okay.
Fallen Bandit knowing that the laning phase is not quite the ideal way it's going to. says, I'm going to want to shop after getting chunked out like that. Let me just drop this and get out of there.
Haunting Guys for Fallen Bandit first as well. Makes more sense against the Mundo, but haven't seen that build in a long time.
Yeah, a lot of what the Rumble wants to do is exactly the same in terms of build path as previously.
Sure.
As that's a lot of chunks right onto Levi.
The Bing Bang and the Boom. And also, ultimate of Unleashed Power can come out there for Tuesday if they got any closer. Mid turret goes down. I think that's the first time we've had really a mid drop itself. So opening up the map differently for the first time this series. Let's see how 100 Thieves, they respond nicely to bot. Or for CLG, I should say, and 100 Thieves will back for the time being.
Yeah, cute use of the Tom Kench ult there. After they rotate mid to take the turret, they get back down to make sure they don't lose any farm. Continuing this pressure as they start up the Rift Herald, really turning up the heat here in Game 4 with a very aggressive draft and playing to match it.
There's boots. Tuesday's got his boots now.
Oh, that'll fix everything.
Magical boots. He's good. New set of shoes.
So back to the Rumble point. When they split up Haunting Guys and Leandries into Oblivion Orb and Haunting Guys, they took the flat pen away from it and put it on the Oblivion Orb, excuse me. And so despite that fact, Rumble still wants those exact items. So he wants the double pen boots as well as the extra % health burn that he gets, especially in this game with a couple high health targets like Linsanity and Brandini. So there's going to be basically the same build. It's just more expensive because the components of it that you want are split up across multiple items.
Oh my word. They are gunning for auto right now. It does not look like it's going to be good. The 1-2 and the third punch coming in from Levi. Nothing was held back for just auto in that.
Very explosive engage by Stunt there. Auto knew it was coming, tried to ult it, but nice play by Stunt to flash over top of the Varus ultimate to make sure it doesn't get locked down. And then Levi brought the damage, who is pretty strong at this point in the game.
Making those for sure plays. Say, hey, we can take it. It might take us a little bit out of our way, but the follow-up play will find us Dragon. Wiggly just on the outside, 1,500 health on that Dragon. Infernal Drake gonna give a little bit more power to someone. And Levi drops that down for the team. Equalizer comes down, beautifully cutting off 100 Thieves over the walls to just punch. Brandini is at low health and now dead as that orb comes through from Tuesday. Phil with a great abyssal voyage forward, chomps up Linsanity and turns him into dinner for Wiggly. 2 down on the side of 100 Thieves as Rift Herald is spawned mid for Counter Logic Gaming.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do to stop this push. Great play by CLG to still win that fight 4v5.
Yeah.
There was a split focus by 100 Thieves as 2 of the frontliners came in from the top side while the rest of the team was focusing down the Infernal Drake.
Gotta watch out on that turret damage. Tuesday's very low, and they actually aren't able to finish, so a bit of a mishap as they move forward, and getting a little too hyphy, I think, with the energy there, but we'll see it all here again.
So Brandini in particular takes a very unsafe path and starts getting chunked down. Linsanity and him are trying to frontline, but they just eat a double stun while the rest of the team is focusing down the Dragon. Really, really split focus by 100 Thieves there. You've already gotten the Dragon for the most part. You should actually be taking the longer path around to meet up with your team and look to escort them out of there versus cut off the enemy team. And that cost them quite heavily. 2 more deaths on their side after they started making some good plays to get back into it. The kill secured them that Dragon on the bot side.
Said if this pushed to 2K, it'd be a little bit more serious. I feel like 2K and that mid-second tier turret would be a very big boon for them. So big that 100 Thieves was able to keep that up. But CLG now can play it patient. They have that mid set up. They don't have to push too hard, but they do have to be aware of how hungry 100 Thieves is apparently.
I mean, this is a game where you are right on the knife's edge of CLG being able to blow this game open. Levi and 100 Thieves want their own chance to do that.
Linsanity's ready to take flight as well as they get under the turret. Here he comes! The entrance in under CLG's turret, and they Justice punch back the pain. Levi could go down in the Retribution kill trade, and now Rikara finds himself in the 2-for-1 stunt, very close to going down. Fallen Bandit made a bit of a whoopsie teleporting into this one. And 4 strong for 100 Thieves on the bot side as they take bottom tier turret as well.
Yeah, and this feels like another time that they abused the blue buff timing. Wiggly and Tuesday were both up on the top side, I believe, on the blue buff. And during that time, they prepped that 5-man dive. Fallen Bandit does the kind of instinctive teleport down back. And you do see, in fact, it is Wiggly and Tuesday starting off that blue buff. And that just is the perfect time for Levi and Stunt to kick this off. both TPs are coming in, and it's a nice ult by oh my god, Fallen Bandit there to make sure that some people stayed in turret range, but it's still a 5v3 dive, and they got the first couple kills pretty cleanly, all things considered. So even though Levi drops, that's still a great play by 100 Thieves to keep this gold lead pretty close. CLG did answer with the mid lane turret of their own, which have gotten low previously from the Rift Herald. So that's all great, but they need to start cutting down on the amount of deaths that they're giving up.
Absolutely. Don't feel okay about the 1-for-1. Took me a long time to learn that.
Yeah.
Feels like a good play, but it's not actually helping.
Yeah, I mean, you now have a 2-kill Zaya starting to scale up, a 3-kill Levi on the Graves.
You have to consider the overall picture.
Right, those are the backline threats. We're saying that 100 Thieves has a great comp to protect, and they are online, even though CLG does have the gold lead.
A lot of focus towards that top side. We still have 4 minutes until we even get Baron, so you know they're trying to drop this outer turret, so 100 Thieves can't be protected by it in any sense on that side of the map. And here slowly taking their time. Good push by Brandini on the Fallen Bandit. On the bot side, his Leandries and Sork Boots are finished. You see Brandini building up a bit of resistances that'll last later in the game. Here's that pressure from CLG that's just a little too overcoming here for 100 Thieves.
Yep, Tuesday with such an advantage in the mid lane, able to push up and show here. And even though they have the Galio ult on cooldown, there's no, I mean, they have the Galio ult on cooldown, so there's no way that they could threaten to potentially cancel that one out. Now Brandini's a little bit in trouble. Gets the first sidestep.
Free harpoon next, sidestep out, scratch shield for a bit of speed. Oh, that's not gonna feel good. Flashes up there for Fallen Bandit. He may have to just head himself over Krug wall. Oh, he says, no, I can make it. Oh, is that his demise? He rethinks the situation of flashing. Oh, he throws out the equalizer. Almost equalizes it, but the Zanya's coming through. Stopwatch, rather, for Brandini. What has he allowed the team to do? Taunted just on the outside, cleansed out. Brandini, scat of the week, almost in range, grabs the orb, and now they're focused on Linsanity. Brandini's able to dance the fight on the left, but they do take down the tankier one in Linsanity. Brandini living with a sliver of health. He's the focus now of both members. 3 members of Counter Logic Gaming. He almost goes down, but before the team get another one, he valiantly takes another life. And a 2 for 2 in these extended fights are favoring 100 Thieves. Rikara on the other side of the map.
Yeah, absolutely insane fight that starts as a 1-for-1, breaks into basically a 5v5. And 100 Thieves, the fact that they could commit less resources to that and trade evenly means they come out ahead as Rikara takes the top turret alone, and the gold lead continues to shrink. 1,500 now, just about. Levi's going to be able to protect this wave.
So quick. It seems like 100 Thieves realize when they're behind, and they just do not like it. They're like, we need to fight more. Fight and go. Fight more.
And this is I think they were intentionally baiting this, which is why Fallen Bandit did not flash the wall, and Brandini just has a really nice timing, able to get that last damage off. Tuesday was collapsing. They had the first rotation, which I think they were aware of, which is why Fallen Bandit tried to turn it, but it just didn't work out. And a really good job by Linsanity playing body blocker, but runs out of mana, and the Trundle ult comes in to make sure that this absolutely ripped through Linsanity. But now the rest of 100 Thieves arrives. Stunt does a pretty good job causing some chaos. The Syndra still comes out, but there's enough damage from Levi with his ultimate and how fed he is to finish her off. And then everyone was chasing down Brandini, who was somehow still alive through all that. And that's why he was able to allow Levi and Stunt to get out.
4-1-1 for Levi, 2-0-1 for Rikara. They are backing, which gives CLG some nice time with the Drake. This is going to give them a lot of movement around the map, something they already like to be able to use. And now they'll be on the forefront of making these plays, possibly getting some engages in. Fallen Bandit been able to draw a bit of attention to the side waves. Really seeing the pressure coming in through the rest of the team as well. Confident on taking these turrets down.
Yeah, but it's not going to be unanswered, as in the mid lane, we got some action.
Drawn together. 2 dropped immediately. That's Tuesday. And Fallen Bandit down in the blink of an eye, as CLG felt like they had the upper hand on the bot side, and 100 Thieves again go with the snap judgment.
That was such a quick engage by Stunt here, and you see some of the problems from CLG's Academy immobile backline. If they ever try and defend something in an odd man situation, there's such a powerful engage with Stunt, especially if he has his flash up, that you can't even pretend to posture around that objective, as they're also able to rotate up to the top side, get another turret, and finally the gold lead.
did not take them long to switch that one around. Really able to kind of collapse down on all the plays that CLG was trying to make, and more so make their own plays on CLG's side. Here's another one, double turret dive in the mid.
Yeah, they know he's there, but I don't think they were aware of Levi wrapping around. The Galio ult, who was just bot lane, made them think that there was no way that this was going to turn into a big dive, and 2 extra men show up out of seemingly nowhere, and without their flash available on Tuesday, there's no way they have any hope of getting out of a play like that.
CLG just behind these routes that 100 Thieves is taking. They have those vision wards on 3 of them on the bot side for right where Levi and the rest of the team was coming through. What happens then? They engage in mid lane where that vision isn't. It's just they have the number of the vision control right now for CLG, and that makes it seem so much harder to say, yeah, we do have vision, because it feels like you have no idea where that opposing team is.
And especially with how many resources they committed down to the bot lane, it feels bad to sack against what you think is a 2v2, but if you don't know where they are and they're not defending bot lane, you probably want to back off where they are pressuring.
A little bit of a help ping over towards Baron. CLG definitely want the jockey for position on that. Nice Abyssal Voyage coming in. Chain of Corruption right onto Ricard. It looks like he could go down. Featherstorm is almost up in just a second. He goes down before that happens, and it's kind of linked Brandini into a bad situation. The rest of the team is following, though. Who becomes the caboose? Tuesday's in a bad spot as he tries to route around the left side. Another ring around the rosy happens for CLG and 100 Thieves. Brandini is low. The equalizer's getting walked off here as 100 Thieves trying to find themselves in a better spot for the fight. And it looks like it is just going to be that 2-0 in favor of CLG.
Yeah, Rikara just barely not having his ultimate available is why they were able to force that play. And 100 Thieves sometimes have these moments where they just don't know when to give it up. Sometimes it works out in their favor, and sometimes it doesn't. In game 2, they had a play where Wiggly was able to find a series of pickoffs just because they didn't want to leave Rikara alone to die. Exact same story here. He gets rooted up, doesn't have his ultimate available, still flashes to try and get down to Brandini, who's trying to keep him alive, but once he's dead, and Brandini's on the wrong side, you kind of just got to leave them, and instead Stunt wants to go back in. There's still so many ultimates available. You're going to see the Rumble ult come on top. Tuesday also can just shoot a stun over the back part of the wall into Levi to make sure he doesn't get involved in that play, and that entire time, Galio not able to contribute.
That's the greatest place that a Rumble wants to fight, is right in the choke point of a jungle. Absolutely loving that on the side of CLG, as well as Phil. The Abyssal Voyage is now coming through in an aggressive mode, and this is his 9th Tom Kench, so he's one of the high Tom Kench players for the Academy League, and he's definitely showing why he loves to get in there with this champion.
And we see some MR coming through, but a little less than I would have expected. I saw Linsanity pick up the stopwatch and thought he might transition from a Banshee's Veil from there, but instead goes and commits to the Zanyas, when it does feel like the magic damage from the Rumble and Syndra is really what's winning these fights. Otto, a bit more of a non-factor right now, and of course he will scale up as a marksman with Ginsu's and Blade of the Rune King, but not too much MR being prioritized quite yet. Levi, the only one who's really changed his build path from what is standard to set up for this.
Interesting stunt as well with Levi on that Zeke's Convergence and not Ricard. I guess being in the fight more, you want to get that circle of damage and burn on some guy that's going to be close to the enemy. No engage there. Stunt gets himself back to safety. And then go ahead and clean wave. It's all about that Baron next as well. Infernal Drake could spread some people thin, but I feel like that'll be taken as another fight is being jockeyed for position here. 100 Thieves down towards mid. And get some more vision in that area.
Yep, and gold lead back in CLG's favor after all those plays, but 100 Thieves still playing like they have a fair amount of control, and it feels a little bit like it's due to the fact that CLG is afraid to walk forward with how many times they've been engaged on. They are starting potentially to get a little gun shy if they don't know where people are or if they know that their teammates are spread away from them. But 100 Thieves lacking the vision tools to really do this. There's their first pink ward in the river. Not too much, really. They're going to go for it anyways, and there's the blue trinket.
Insanity kind of wants to give himself a way to taunt or Justice Punch in or out of this. If he's in the pit, that makes it much harder for Galio. Also, so does that pillar. The rest of the team stunned on the other side of it. What an interesting mix-up to start that fight. Chain of Corruption comes out and fizzles out as they get an ultimate for an ultimate in that collateral damage from Levi as well.
Yeah, this is a bit over-aggressive, it feels like, by 100 Thieves. Only 24 minutes into the game. And they're still posturing around.
Oh,
there.
wow. Stunt low. Stunt goes down immediately. That was Unleashed Power coming in from Tuesday. They want the fight. Feather Storm from Ricard as he tries to rain on CLG's Parade. A few more hits as Tuesday makes it look easy and clean. Moving into the Baron pit, and we thought this would be the fight that would tip it, and CLG takes the 25-minute back and forth.
The curse of the early Baron force strikes again.
Yep.
CLG finds a 3 for 0. There is still Brandini with Flash available, but they are still making sure to focus him down way before Baron gets in feast range.
He's the cherry on top.
Yeah, 1 extra kill. Easy as you want it. Levi is not even going to bother trying. He breaks down for the Infernal Drake. He's saying if somehow we don't lose on this Baron, which everyone has lost as soon as the Baron drops, if they somehow don't lose, maybe that second Infernal Drake will help.
What a kick into gear for CLG here. This pillar, the first, unless it's the second pillar here, this is the second one, but the first pillar from Wiggly as well. They have been fantastic for these fights.
And it's just so surprising to me how much 100 Thieves is forcing around this Baron when they're not really stronger in terms of a gold lead. They don't have good vision control, and it's only 25 minutes into the game where Baron buff is still extremely hard to take down for your team. And this was just a complete disaster of a call that gets punished very well by CLG, and maybe it's going to cost us to go to Game 5 if history is any indication of what happens from here on out.
Absolutely. And you can kind of see where their mind is at. Yeah, we burn it down, then we have a choke gap. There's no way they can get it, but you still got to be in the pit at that time to bite it down, and CLG wasn't having that. And now they may not be having Wiggly for too much longer. Everybody over the wall, Phil to save him, and he flashes to safety. Now the possible turnaround. Chain of Corruption comes in. Here's Linsanity to stop the fight, but they do lose Wiggly. Linsanity goes in. He wants the full fight on 3, but misses the Justice Punch and taunt. It's going to be Otto going down as CLG make a grave mistake after grabbing Baron.
Yeah, Wiggly getting a little bit too far ahead. He had the support of his team there, and he and Phil did a good job comboing together to get him out, but Levi went man mode there and goes back into the fight of all things to finish him off and redirect the focus onto him. Now it's a 2v2, or 3v3, excuse me, with 2 dead on both sides. And that's what you want to try and stall out this Baron buff a little bit, keep them away from the objectives.
Oh.
Oh, no.
Womp womp. I was going to say, Ricard standing tall to even walk in there without the vision, but here it is again on this fight. So back and forth, but everybody's ready to kind of support each other if you go in.
Yeah, and they burn a lot of flashes to make this play work, though. Wiggly gets over the wall, Phil gets the double flash from them in his belly, and it feels like they're going to disengage here with all the flanks coming in. And realizing that they're in a lot of trouble, Levi goes in and finishes off Wiggly there and redirects the attention back onto him as Linsanity is on his same side helping support him. So this allows Otto to get caught out of position too, as everyone has refocused onto finishing off Levi, and that is what allows it to be a 2 for 2. So some good plays by Linsanity and Levi to make that one work.
Pushing towards the top side now, 4 strong, 5 strong. CLG don't even really have a wave. It's kind of sitting in the middle of bot side. So this is all that Baron push. They want to make it happen now. 1 minute left.
Yeah, absolutely did not have time to set the waves up quite like they want to. The Baron buff, they're just trying to get what little they can out of it right now.
Ooh, taunt just on the outside from Linsanity allows Fallen Bandit to trade a little damage back. Enough on the side, though, where he holds just about 3 members at bay from the engage. They knew they were giving up second tier, but it's up to 100 Ds now to stop this aggression from CLG. So confident in their push here, and so confident coming into game 4. A nice scatter onto Linsanity. Stopwatch forced onto him. Zanya's now actually for that purchase, and he goes down. Great plays from CLG as the inhibitor and kills are in their eyes as they take 100 Thieves base.
Really nice play there. Linsanity wanting to walk up and scare them off the way, but gets punished with the Rumble ult, zoning the rest of the team from any follow-up. And Stunt just doesn't have a way in. You really want to see Stunt go in first and engage onto one of the backline members, but there's no flank available for him. And then there's no Galio ult after he dies, obviously. So they lose that inhibitor. And all things considered, a good recovery by CLG Academy to get an inhibitor after the Baron buff's initial push broke down.
I gotta say, game 5 really feels like it's on the horizon, but now what happens that Baron's gone? What does CLG do? Do they stop enough for 100 Thieves to gain a ground? Do they make a mistake? This next minute before Baron spawns again, or CLG's back at the front of the base, becomes so intense. even though there's such a gold lead for CLG.
One of the biggest things for CLG here is to make sure that before any other major objectives come up, you don't get picked off a couple times. As 100 Thieves, for the most part, have done a really good job of finding opportunities on people. And there's a fair amount of flashes down right now, so wait until Fallen Bandits, Wigglies, Autos is up. Phil doesn't even have it right now because he's summoned Unsealed Spellbook off of it because he had previously used it. So play a little defensive. There's no major objectives up that you have to worry about losing, and make sure the enemy team can't get some extra free gold back in their pockets.
Stunt throwing a Quicksilver Sash in that inventory to make sure he is unstoppable and slippery. If he gets in and out of the fights, he needs to stay alive for a little bit longer. He's really helping Rakara as well for distraction in that sense. What a swing of gold. You can see where and how 100 Thieves kind of felt like they were in that lead, and they actually held it as it went up to 25 minutes until we saw the Baron. And still playing like they have a chance to get back in, but CLG is saying no, not this time.
Yeah, CLG is starting to get some defensive tools. Of course, the Banshee's Veil coming in to stop any sort of when you don't poke it off, it completely shuts down stunts engage. So they need to land some kind of Galio Q poke, some Talia, or excuse me, the Zaya Q poke or something on Tuesday if they have any hope of engaging onto him.
Not gonna lie, that blue skin looks like.
I mean, all of them are very similarly clawed.
Oh, there it is. Stunt goes in, gets himself to safety. Ignite and Flash are already down, and they lose Wiggly right off the bat. 100 Thieves looks to turn the fight. Fallen Bandits in the front, taking a lot of damage as Linsanity throws down the Zanyas. 200 HP for both Stunt and Levi as they're trying to find their targets. Stunt is down, and CLG held very strong with a top wave pushing in that 100 Thieves now has to tend to.
Yeah, well, 100 Thieves is going to try to answer that. CLG will continue trying to escort this minion wave into the bot side. That's most of the ultimates down. Only Brandini with his up, so you don't have to worry about any of these big engages, and CLG should be pretty confident to finish off that turret.
That spells great things for CLG. That's exactly the question I had, is when this Baron is down, can they continue it? And they did not stop. They also didn't push themselves into any position of greed, which is great to see when you need to close out a game.
And the big thing about that was there were no flashes available during that time, so CLG grouped up as 5 and dared 100 Thieves to go on to them. They did. They turned out just fine. And in the next fight, even if they're ready for him, they can potentially flash out a Stunts Engage, who now does not have flash himself.
Now they're going to go super fast, too. 3 Cloud Drakes.
That's a speedy comp.
Maximum speed for CLG here as we reach 32 minutes in. We'll see this fight again, how they kind of countered it.
I think Tuesday had a really good position here and landed some big stuns. It starts out pretty well for side of 100 Thieves, where they try and engage onto the back line, who quickly disengages quite well, but it isolates Wiggly up on the front side of this fight.
So who does he see? The auto, okay.
So this is going to have Phil pull him up and get him out of the galley wall. That allows them to focus down Wiggly. And then Brandini's trying to scare Tuesday away from the fight, but he lands a nice stun here onto 2 members of the back line, as well as the root coming in from the Varus, making sure that they couldn't chase down into the front side. The Rumble ultimate did a ton of damage, melting back down there as well.
I don't know if the pings are going down. Phil was literally 300 range from sweeping Linsanity and Levi in the brush, or probably finding himself 6 feet under. But he keeps himself alive, and they're just going to slow play this one. As the longer they're not on the map, I feel like CLG gets a little more tense about the situation, but they still feel like they can start it, saying, even if we don't know where they are, we can take the fight. They now know they're a bit above them, seeing that vision be placed. Tuesday misses Linsanity. He throws the Winds of War back. Baron down to half, but they're going to start the fight right away. Slowly walking in is Brandini, and they have the fight pincered now. It looks like CLG is going to have to turn off this one. But wait, Brandini may have come in a little too early. He almost goes down immediately as Fallen Bandit throws down the Zanyas. Linsanity, Zanyas himself as well. Everybody still stands somehow as Linsanity finally falls. They're onto the fight now for 100 Thieves. Levi on the back line as Rakara is throwing in the feathers, trying to cut left and right, but CLG keep winning the ground game, holding position and able to push the fight forward. Fallen Bandit teleport back in, and these could be the final touches on an overall fight, Mark.
Yeah, the back line's still alive though, so it's a little difficult. They'll finally get onto Levi, which allows them to continue to chase down onto Ricard. It's going to be a clean ace.
They made it last.
For CLG Academy, and the top lane inhibitor is still down. This could be their path to victory and game 5.
Looks like they're gonna head towards that top side. They're saying, assist me here. They do bring Auto forward, getting that attack speed in so they can take down the turrets. And what a hard-fought game. We said both teams came in, game after game, playing the staring contest, failing or not choosing to switch a composition around, and we get that from Counter Logic Gaming, and we get another win out of them, 21-12. Counter Logic Gaming brings us to a Game 5.
Second one of the quarterfinals, and this time around it's the all-rookie squad with the superior teamwork up against the macro-intensive 100 Thieves. And thus far, it's been a completely back-and-forth series.
It really, really has. It's the buys needing to come in, the focus in changing these fights to make things happen. Yet Wiggly, I've never really seen Pillars do that much work in stopping a fight. For Galio so much too, when he threw that up at Baron, no more justice punch in. It separated it like it was an equalizer itself. And it really threw 100 Thieves for a loop, and where they're mechanically strong in fights.
Yeah, this is a really tough series to break down because both teams and players on each side will make really good plays. So like Tuesday was dominating the mid lane.
Yeah,
CLG's
Tuesday
making
too.
good movements to him to shut him down, but then Linsanity's map plays and his ultimates start getting his team back in the game, and then it feels like every game gets broken open by one really questionable decision around a Baron buff more often than not, and it makes it hard to talk about the rest of the game because it's like, well, actually 100 Thieves were playing, for the most part, pretty well for the first 25 minutes of that game, and then once they fell behind, they started getting a little desperate and traded kills a little bit more, but that's to be expected from behind.
And one thing I think CLG did really well this game was we saw that they had those lanes that could be aggressive, that could win early, and they used that. They said, hey, we'll get 1,000 gold here, but we'll also have Wiggly continue to look for Levi and push and be aggressive.
Yeah, I think what you said about how finally someone made the adaptations in this series, and CLG one, ban out the Kindred, and then go for a very early game focus, laning phase, team comp, and that was actually huge for them because it allowed them to get through that kind of mid-game bump that each team seems to feel a little bit, where they had a big lead, and then 100 Thieves got back into the game but never had their own advantage. And then when 100 Thieves feel like, hey, we've won a couple fights in a row, you don't actually have the gold lead because you're starting from a deficit.
Well, let's hop back into this game. 15 minutes in, we have the 100 Thieves 3-for-1 tower dive, and this is also on 100 Thieves is they always know when to attack on the other side.
Yeah, this is all really smart play, keyed off jungling for the most part, where they know the enemy team's going to be on the blue buff, and they use this to get a 5v3 turret dive because the enemy top laner thinks he can TP in as well, but Fallen Bandit will get punished for that, and they will get a 3-for-1 and the bot lane turret. CLG does answer with a mid lane turret of their own, but this is a situation where you're definitely not trading up, and it's allowing 100 Thieves to start getting back into the game. And there were a fair amount of fights like that where they were able to get man advantages with the Galio ultimate to get good fights.
I hope it doesn't get tempered down in Game 5 either. So 25 minutes in as well as we take a look at CLG's 4-for-0 at Baron. And this is when they said, you know what? Let's do it again. Let's strike back.
And once again, 100 Thieves forced on the Baron for some reason, did not have good vision control. They had a single pink ward in the entire river. CLG actually has better vision after contesting it. Then they get mid control, and 100 Thieves tries to just walk back blindly the mid lane, get absolutely obliterated for it. They lose 4 kills for that and the Baron buff, and that was the end for them. The fact that they skipped some steps. They did not get good vision control. They did not bait the Baron. They just tried to force it because, hey, we got Cho'Gath. We can eat it or something. I don't know. It was
chomp it down.
It was very surprising play to see.
Well, it's always easier to say something. It's much harder to make something actually happen on the Rift. And we see at 34 minutes, CLG was able to ultimately close out the game with a hell of a fight as they snuck up.
Yeah, and a lot of
Thieves.
A lot of times, 100 Thieves was executing decently well. You see them get in, get a couple different multi-layered engages here, but they just don't have nearly enough damage from this point in the game, down about 10k, and not getting any super clean follow-up. And now they still have both backline members. You can see that it is difficult for CLG to actually chase down as long as the double marksmen are alive. But
yeah, we go all the way down the lane.
Yeah, we go completely to the left, but to this point, you know, as soon as that front line's dead, you lost the Galio and you lost the Cho'Gath. It's just so hard for the marksman to walk up as well, and as a result, eventually they find the CC and the engages to get the rest of these kills down. They get the ace and win the game after they TP back up to the top lane.
CLG really able to come about and put a little bit of that fight prowess that 100 Thieves has under their belt this game, and it's starting to show that the rookies can come together. They can kind of reach that mark where they were saying 100 Thieves has that skill, but they're not coming together. I think we can do that.
Yeah, and I think this was a great bounce back game for the side of CLG. You know, each time it goes 1-1, 1-1, so everyone's been kind of answering the other's call. A lot of change this time around with the blue side again means that if CLG want to, they can be blue side in game 5 as they have the higher side selection as the 3rd seed.
And we also saw a bit of, we said there was a mix-up in picks, but that also mixed up the bans so that those picks could happen. We saw the Varus getting through. We saw a few other things getting through, but that meant that I believe the Kindred was banned and then something else on the other side. So teams were trying to get those picks, and it seems like some got bit in the butt, worked out for some.
Yeah, I mean, even the Xayah Rakan lane, which they had left up in order to allow that trade to happen, it looked good for a large portion of the game. They got a lot of good engages off combined with the Galio to win fights, but you really need to clean up the decision-making for both these teams in this game. I would borderline say, if I was a coach, like, do not do Baron if it's not after you have killed the enemy team. Like, no more of these 5 men alive on both sides, stand to the Baron pre-30 minutes and try and force something, because that hasn't worked at all this year.
Going into game 5 checklist. Enemy team still alive, don't do Baron.
Yep.
Coming from Mark. With that victory, Counterlogic Gaming keeps their semifinal dreams alive and push us to a game 5. Don't touch that browser. The conclusion to this epic series is coming up right after the break. Linsanity's ready to take flight as well as they get under the turret. Here he comes, the entrance in under CLG's turret, and they justice punch back the pain. Levi could go down in the retribution kill trade, and now they're focused on Linsanity. Brandini's able to dance the fight to the left, but they do take down the tankier one in Linsanity. Brandini living with a sliver of health. He's the focus now of both members, 3 members of Counterlogic Gaming.
Yeah, but it's not going to be unanswered, as in the mid lane we got some action.
Drawn together. 2 dropped immediately. That's Tuesday. And Fallen Bandit down in the blink of an eye. The rest of the team is following, though. Who becomes the caboose? Tuesday's in a bad spot as he tries to route around the left side. Another ring around the rosy happens for CLG and Huckabee. Brandini is low. The equalizer's getting walked off here. Oh, wow. Stunt low. Stunt goes down immediately. That was Unleashed Power coming in from Tuesday. They want the fight Feather Storm from Ricard as he tries to rain on CLG's parade. A few more hits as Tuesday makes it look easy and clean. But wait, Brandini may have come in a little too early. He almost goes down immediately as Fallen Bandit throws down the Zanyas. Linsanity, Zanyas himself as well. Everybody still stands somehow as Linsanity finally falls.